Okay, welcome back, everybody. We did finish our executive session. Thank you for your patience. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back in executive session. If I could just remind the public, please, we brought everyone back in. If you could please keep your mics muted until it's your turn to speak or we call on you. We're still getting some sound from some of your mics, so if you could please keep them muted, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, the first discussion item tonight is Calverton Solar Energy, Nextera. Greg, we have the applicant on.
Yes, sir. I know we have Steve LaSquadro, attorney for the applicant. I believe I see Bill Bohr. There may be anybody else. I mean, if you're involved in the application, I would just invite yourself to unmute and you can join in.
Prescott Hartshorn from National Grid.
Nextera Energy.
All right.
Okay, Mr. LaSquadro, you with us?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay, great.
Um,
So,
It appears that I can see you. I hope you folks can see me.
yeah, we can hear you. I'm just not sure which one on the screen you are, but yeah, I can see it. Yeah, thank you. Greg, if you could bring us up to speed where we are with this application, please?
All right, so at our last meeting, this board rejected a resolution to grant preliminary approval. Since that meeting, the applicant has redesigned the project and reconfigured the location of the solar panels and specifically the collector substation or step-up facility. They did submit a revised site plan, which now shows the approximate location of that substation has been moved approximately 370 feet off of the Edwards Avenue right-of-way to the west. It is still located on the access road. Just for your reference, I did give you sheet C106, which shows an inset of that specific area on a scale. So they have moved that substation now. It is approximately 360 feet off of the roadway. They've shifted some landscaping and done changes to the plans in relation to that to make it work. But what you have before you, essentially, for all intents and purposes, essentially the same project on an overall scale, just with some revisions. If there were some other changes, I mean, if you'd like the applicant to discuss them in detail, they can go, I'm sure their design professionals can go through that, but that was the most significant change, that they did relocate that substation.
Okay, and there also was some enhanced landscaping offered too, correct?
They did enhance the landscaping. They were shown on a number of the detail sheets. They did change some grading and drainage plans as a result of locating that. They did widen the access roads per fire marshal comments. I mean, I can go through some of the other things. Landscape buffer has been depicted on all sheets. Adjusted grading and stormwater basins. Adjusted grading basins internally to account for the increase in impervious coverage due to the widening of access roads. They did locate the existing water main on the property, and they did show that, as well as a proposed location of a new fire hydrant along that access road. That was done for fire marshal comments. And they just made some other, detailed changes in terms of schedules and tables of sheets. But substantively, those are the major changes.
Okay, do you have anything to add to that, Mr. LaSquadro?
Essentially, no. I appreciate Mr. Bergman's recitation. I think that the essential points were covered by him. I think that the modification very aptly addresses what the board wants to see. I think in addition to moving the substation back very substantially, the revised submission also enhances landscaping, provides all the details that Mr. Bergman mentioned, and also was able to clean up, if you will, or make sure that a series of housekeeping items were addressed that were just comments that were set to be addressed and refined, and they were all in these plans that were now submitted. So we believe that, of course, as we've said before, this complies with code in all respects. There are no setbacks, variances, or any relief that's requested. But in addition, to that, this now addresses the concerns that the board had about placement of the substation within the site, and of course, with enhanced landscaping, that even adds greater attention to, and pays greater attention and provides greater detail to what the board wanted to see in that regard. So, with all of that being said, what we do respectfully request is that the matter be put before the board this evening and voted on for preliminary approval with the parameters that Mr. Bergman set forth. And thank you very much again for the opportunity to present the revised plan and to address these matters.
Okay, thank you. Greg, just one question. This was posted on the website, this
Yes, sir.
revised plan?
Yes.
It's been posted prior to the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board or any discussion? Okay, so, Mr. LaSquadro, go ahead, Dick.
I'm interested in the year-round screening. Is that part of the next
What?
year-round screening of vegetative buffer that's in the adjacent properties in this says setback? The 25-foot vegetative buffer to provide year-round screening from adjacent properties. That's okay by you?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had a hard time hearing Mr. O'Day.
So the question is in the recited preliminary approval, the 25-foot vegetative year-round buffer, he just wants to be assured that that is acceptable to you for the residents that had a concern.
Yes, the details of the resolution have as it was proposed, have been shared with us, so we subscribe to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so if there are any other questions, I'd like to thank you, Mr. LaSquadro, Mr. Dowling, and National Grid for revising this site plan to accommodate our concerns and the public concerns. And we will bring this to a vote under resolutions later on in the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a discussion item for Riverhead Townhomes.
All right, and for this application, we do have Anthony Portillo. He's the registered architect and the design professional on the project. Anthony, if you want to unmute yourself.
Unmuted. Hi, Board. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay,
So we have a continued discussion. We've received a site plan application which proposes a two-story, three-unit townhouse development on a vacant parcel of land, which is located at 45 3rd Street in downtown Riverhead. Subject property is approximately 0.14 acres. It's located on the south side of 3rd Street. It is located within the Riverhead Historic District, as well as, and its zoning designation is DC4. With regards to SECRA, this board classified the action as a Type 1 action last August, and in February of this year, you assumed lead agency and issued a negative declaration. This application did require a number of variances from town code, specifically for the number of parking stalls, the width of the two-way drive aisle, the proposed impervious surface coverage, as well as a side yard setback relief. The applicant applied for and received the necessary relief from the Riverhead Zoning Board of Appeals by appeal number 2020-054 with determination dated February 25th, 2021. There was a condition in there that pursuant to town code for the parking variance, there is a $2,000 per space sum, which is due to the town prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. We did receive comments from the Riverhead Water District. They stated that application for water service will be required together with an appropriate hookup fee, key money to be assessed upon final site plan approval. They will need to apply for a backflow prevention device. They required that if irrigation is proposed, the use of smart controllers must be utilized and noted on plans, and that the water district would be consulted prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. The application, due to its location in the Riverhead Historic District, was reviewed by the Landmarks Preservation Commission at its March 22nd meeting. They gave some background and historic significance of the project. They did recommend approval of the project. They did have some clarifications and wanted to see some modifications, specifically to the facade, them being that the round grille in the street-facing gable will be replaced with a window that is square, rectangular, or with a triangular top, similar to other examples found in the district. They wanted the siding on the upper portions of the building to be board and batten siding as opposed to lap siding. The window will have projecting drip caps and sills, which is typical of the neighborhood. The windows will be simulated divided light. Windows will be double hung where possible, or casement to make it look like a double hung where egress is necessary. Half moon style windows will be eliminated from the doors, and they will be a simple 6-panel with no lights, or they will have rectangular lights following historical patterns in the neighborhood. And their approval was conditioned on review and approval by ARB. The ARB did review this project on its March 24th meeting. At this time, the ARB offered preliminary approval, subject to the following conditions. ARB wanted some additional foundation plantings along the front and side elevations. They wanted to resubmit the plans with those changes back to Landmarks, and that they wanted to see full construction drawings. We did receive fire marshal comments. They had no specific comments on the project at this time. However, they did note that the plans must conform to the Building Code of New York State. So the next step in this application is to schedule this site plan application for a public hearing, which I have a resolution to do so.
Greg,
Other than
did
that-
we receive any elevations or any drawings of what this building's gonna look like?
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yes,
Do you have
sir.
anything with you? I don't remember if the board got it or not. I don't, it's been so long, I don't remember. Oh, never mind, Greg.
What's the size of each unit, Greg?
So the size of each unit,
I gave it.
Got it, Joe. Thank you.
Anthony, do you know the size of each dwelling unit, residential dwelling unit?
Yep, I'm looking it up right now.
And there's an upstairs and downstairs to each one, right?
350, 350 and 350 roughly.
Is that what you said?
Yep, that's
Oh,
correct. It's,
2,058.
Each unit is, 1 second, 1,000, it's about, it's a little over 700, about 710 total. The living space, the living space is, basically the living area that will be downstairs. And we're proposing, 2 bedrooms with a bathroom on the second floor. So they're all the same basic layout. And I just want to note one thing. We did revise our elevation drawings after the Landmarks meeting, which was received by ARB. ARB reviewed those revisions. And I believe Landmarks has received it as well. The ARB was acceptable. They accepted the changes based on the Landmark comments that Greg just went over. So I don't know if the board received those latest plans, but I can definitely get that to Greg. But we did revise based on all the comments.
Yeah, I haven't received them yet, but I mean, due to the timing of our meetings, the public hearing would be for the first meeting in June. So he can get those drawings to me and we can distribute them to the board, as well as if ARB or Landmarks needs to see them again for whatever reason, we can do that.
And post them before the public hearing.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments?
I just think the zoning board was very generous on this. I think it's 3 units on this lot is an awful lot. I don't find the building to be too bad, but I don't know, I would like to see it be 2 units. I mean, I think there's gonna be an awful lot of people. 13-foot driveway, 82% lot coverage. We get quite
My
a few
quick
variances.
calculation shows 686 square feet per apartment. If your 2,058 square feet is in fact accurate, I don't know if 710 came up, but
Each, give me six, 1 second. Give me one, sorry, I'll verify that.
$710 would be $2,130, if I do my math correct.
Well. Yep, 686.
Is he in the public parking district or no?
That's correct. I recounted, and it's, a total of, 686.
Do we have any minimum, Greg, do we have any, no, we don't.
No, sir. And the bedroom sizes, the bedrooms are proposed at, I believe, 101 square feet and I think 82 square feet.
That's 10 by 10.
And that, I mean, that does meet the New York State building code for minimum bedroom size. So while they may be small, I mean, they comply with the code, there's no restrictions. And I mean, the bottom line is if there's a market for smaller, dwelling units, I mean, it doesn't go against any of the provisions of the Riverhead Town Code.
Are these rental units or are these units offered for sale individually?
The plan is to be a rental unit. There's also parking, on the street in that area. Other residents do park along the shoulder there. There's no, signs or anything saying that parking's not allowed.
Yeah, I remember there's small houses in that area.
So somebody asked, it's in a parking district?
No, it's not. That's why they had to seek relief for the parking stalls. And I mean, I do note that the reason they had to seek the relief for the parking stalls, they are providing 4 where 5 is required. They had to go for that relief because they had to provide 1 handicap accessible parking stall. Even though, for a small residential development, they did have a handicap parking stall, so that required them to go for the 1 stall relief.
Board, if I could mention, I mean, I believe we did at least in my opinion, on the size of the units, I mean, we provided a bathroom and a half. There's a stackable washer and dryer in each unit. A pretty sizable living area that's open. And it being a 2-bedroom, I mean, our thought is a small family or a couple really would be utilizing these units. So we don't see that it's say 4 adults. I mean, that really isn't the plan here. It would be for more of a couple or a couple with a child.
All right, so we'll schedule a public hearing, we'll see what kind of comments we get, and I guess we'll have them back afterwards.
All right.
Thank you, board. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, next item is Jamesport Vineyards.
All right, and I think for this application, we have Ron Gerler, who is he operates Jamesport Vineyard. Ron, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
I am muted.
All right. All right. So what we have is it's a site plan amendment application. Back in 2018, this board approved a site plan application which approved the addition to an existing winery that added a bistro, a pizza oven, as well as some outdoor seating. What they've come in for now is a site plan amendment. They still have their open building permits. They have not been closed out or issued a CO yet. They are proposing to cover an existing concrete pavilion, which is located on the north side of their building, the back side away from State Route 25, proposing to enclose it with a 1,224 square foot roofed over addition. And this will allow them to engage in year-round production and processing of wines and during inclement weather. Right now, it's their outdoor crush pad. If you see on page 3, right now, they've just got all their equipment out there, so they're working in all kinds of weather conditions. So they are just proposing to enclose that concrete crush pad. The proposed addition is going to be clad in the same type of cedar siding as the existing building, and it would be constructed to a maximum height of 24 feet. It does not need any relief from town code in terms of dimensional regulations. Based on the prior approvals, they are compliant with the town's parking requirements. They do have a number of stalls that are improved, as well as an overflow parking area, which was shown on their prior site plan. So really, this is an administrative
I was
amendment.
just gonna say, there should be an administrative.
Yes, I mean, we did have a public hearing when they came in for the bistro. There was no negative feedback, no real, input from the public. We didn't hear anything good or bad. I have toured the site. I mean, they do keep it very well manicured. It's very attractive property, so we do have a resolution to grant administrative amendment site plan approval for this.
Pass it every day, it's fine.
It's pretty far off the road and it's behind the building, right?
Yeah, you're not going to see this from the right-of-way. There's one residence to the east. As I understand, they're on very good terms with their neighbors, so they run a nice operation.
They
How
do.
long have they been in operation?
1981.
81?
I think they were one of the first.
You're one of the first, yeah.
Number 5.
Okay. And you've been crushing and doing everything outdoors since then?
Yes, unfortunately.
Whoa. Okay.
Indoors will be better.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll bring this up under resolutions a little bit later tonight. Doesn't seem to be a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Norfolk Developers.
All right, for this one, we have Gary Sherman and Charles Cuddy. All right, so we're here, this is Norfolk Developers LLC major subdivision. We're here reviewing a sketch plan. This sketch plan is submitted in furtherance of a major subdivision application proposing to subdivide an existing vacant 12.87 acre parcel of land, which is located in the RA 40 zoning use district. In terms of prior approvals, the planning board by resolution 2021-15 dated February 18th, 2021, approved an 11-lot yield map which identified. The board approved an 11-lot yield map to identify the development potential of the subject parcel. This allowed the applicant to move forward with the submission of a sketch plan in accordance with Town Code 301-289A. We had reviewed a couple of different sketch plans for this application. There was a kind of a holdup with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act as to the administration and the enforcement as to how it would apply for this subdivision application. The applicant has since submitted, like I said, this 10-lot sketch plan, which pursuant to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, as they are proposing to build less than the maximum allowable residential density. They are exempt from the Workforce Housing Act, and therefore they are not required to provide any workforce housing or affordable housing within the subdivision. We did receive comments from the town's consulting engineer. In summary, Vinnie Gaudiello reviewed the 10-lot sketch plan. He recommended approval of sketch plan E, although he did note that he would recommend that the planning board require a drainage easement along the eastern side of the property, which would traverse along the rear yards of lot numbers 6 through 8, as this area contains a natural swale and should be preserved and maintained. What that would allow, and that drainage swale exists by the applicant's representations at a couple of meetings, What that would allow for is that if there was ever any drainage issues from the neighboring recharge basin, it would allow for drainage to flow into the proposed recharge basin that they're building on this site. So the plan was reviewed by Vinnie. He recommended approval of it. It generally conformed to the subdivision road and drainage standards. So we do have a sketch plan approval resolution on for a 10-lot sketch plan.
So this is only for a sketch plan?
Correct. This is sketch plan. They would then come in with a preliminary plat application. Preliminary plat is when you really get to the nitty-gritty, the engineering, the details of water supply, distribution, utilities, road, drainage profiles, you know, the heavy engineering for the application.
Is Gateway Drive, East Drive developed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all those streets, Midway Drive, Gateway, East Drive, and Oakland Drive, those are all developed, and there's all residential units on those streets.
I don't remember Gateway, but, okay. But the details is not subject to discussion tonight, this is only for sketch plan.
Correct, this is
Okay.
just for sketch plan.
Any questions?
Nope.
Any other points, Mr. Cuddy?
No, we're satisfied with the report, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Slide away from Mike a little bit. George, can you slide your...
Sorry.
Okay, next item is Peconic Farm subdivision.
So Peconic Farm subdivision, I received a call from the applicant's attorney this afternoon. They had received our engineering comments, and they wanted additional time to be able to respond to them. So they asked that this application be moved forward to the next planning board meeting, I believe on the 20th. So they have, we've taken it off the agenda, so we're on to the next one.
Greg,
Alright, so-
quick question on that, I'm sorry.
You do, go ahead.
Is there any chance of that property being preserved? Is there any intention to do that, or is it?
I have not, I have not received that, an indication from the applicant, but it would be something to ask them.
Thank you.
So Greg, my question is, there have been many postponements and adjournments on this project at the developer's request. Do we keep a log or track of all of those requests and that we approve them? Because it just seems like one day, you know, they'll be here, someone, I'm not saying they're gonna do that, I'm just wondering for tracking purposes. They say, well, you've had it for 3
Yeah,
years.
right.
But they've asked for 6 extensions, and I don't know that that's the case here, it's just a general question.
We generally do. I didn't, today, the call came in really last minute. I'm sure, I don't think the applicant's attorney would object to putting something in writing to that effect, but he did call me at about 4:15 this afternoon.
All right,
That, it'll be at our next meeting,
Yeah, they will
2
be
weeks
on
from tonight?
the next agenda, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is Yakubowski and Sons.
The planning department has received and reviewed a site plan application seeking,
Do we have, who do we have? Anybody on for this one?
yes, we have Alex Kaziski from Bowler Engineering on the call.
Alex, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Planning department has received and reviewed a site plan application seeking approval to perform site improvements, including grading, paving, drainage, and lighting improvements on an industrial zone parcel of land in Calverton. Subject parcel is .918 acre parcel located at 1807 Middle Road in Calverton, located to the west of the terminus of Long Island Expressway. It's located within the Industrial A zoning use district and presently has a single-story, 1,215 square foot storage building located near the southeastern corner of the parcel, with the majority of the remainder of the parcel being wooded.
Brian, that building, does it have any sanitary facilities, or bathroom, or water, or?
I believe there is an existing bathroom there, just based on observations of the outside of the building. The applicant's representative may be able to confirm that. There's an underground sanitary system that currently exists. Under a previous proposal, I believe it was proposed to be abandoned, but with this site plan, I don't see any indication that there's any modifications or abandonment of it. As the warehouse on site is less than 4,000 square feet and is consistent with local land use controls, the proposed site plan application is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, with no further environmental review under SECRA required. The surrounding uses are primarily industrial. The parcel shares its southern boundaries with the 17.5 acre parcel where Suffolk Cement Products operates, and there are industrial operations of similar nature across Middle Road to the west of the parcel. There are 7 single-family residences located within the adjacent area, as shown on Figure 1 of my staff report. As I mentioned, on June 3rd, 2020, a special permit application was received by this department, which sought to establish a propane storage and distribution facility on the subject parcel. That special permit application proposed the installation of 2 30,000-gallon propane tanks and the construction of a 1,056 square foot office, along with associated site improvements. Under that earlier proposal, the existing metal building on site was to be removed. As the special permitting process was underway, the applicant expressed their intent to simplify the proposed improvements, and on February 5th, 2021, submitted a site plan application proposing new grading, paving, drainage, and lighting improvements to complement the existing 1,215 square foot building on site, now to remain. Additionally, the 2 30,000-gallon propane tanks and the office are no longer proposed. The application proposes to create a crushed stone and gravel driveway leading from the frontage along Middle Road to the southern portion of the lot where the warehouse is located. The majority of the southern portion of the lot would also be cleared and improved with identical crushed stone and gravel to create a paved area adjacent to the warehouse. Although the paving improvements are proposed to be crushed stone and gravel, the applicant should provide 1 paved asphalt handicapped accessible stall in proximity to the building in compliance with town code. 27 leaching galleries are proposed at the lowest point on the parcel in order to accommodate stormwater. However, the applicant should clarify the asphalt and gravel delineation in this area near the site entrance. Per the luminaire schedule, 7 pole-mounted lights and 2 building-mounted lights are proposed. In compliance with the town code exterior lighting standards, the pole-mounted lights are mounted at 16 feet, and the wall-mounted lights are mounted at 10 feet. All proposed lighting fixtures are dark sky compliant with a code compliant color temperature of 3,000 degrees Kelvin. The northern boundary of the parcel are shared with a parcel located at 1763 Middle Road. That parcel is also within the Industrial A zoning use district. However, there is mixed use on that parcel. There is a residence on the northern portion of the parcel, and there's also a commercial paving business that's present there. The presence of a non-conforming residential use on the adjoining lot requires certain transitional yard and screening requirements to be met by the applicant, including a 25-foot non-disturbed transitional side yard adjacent to the residential use. Based on a review of the submitted site plan, the application will need relief for these requirements imparted by that residential use. A denial letter has been drafted and provided to the applicant to allow relief to be sought from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This proposal is scheduled to be reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals at their May 13th meeting. Application has been referred to the Town Engineering Department, the Town Attorney's Office. Comments from the Town Attorney's Office are forthcoming, and we just received comments from the Engineering Department today requesting earthwork computations in order to indicate whether a permit is required for the excavation and grading work, as well as a request for runoff coefficients and a storm manhole detail. As the existing warehouse on site is less than 4,000 square feet, the site plan application does qualify as an administrative site plan application under the guidelines outlined in 301, 304, B3G Town Code. However, a resolution to schedule a public hearing has been prepared in the event that the planning board desires to hold a public hearing on the application. Upon addressing any concerns raised by the town engineer or town attorney, if any, staff recommends approval of this application.
Okay, so Brian, you mentioned, and we recall that this was going to be a where they proposed a propane storage facility. And they changed gears, and now they're just looking for the use that they have. What are they gonna have here? What is this gonna be used for?
So their intent is to use it for their oversized trucks that they have on their facility. The parcel's owned by Great White Propane. Currently, their trucks are parked on their Main Street location. They'd like to take their trucks and park them in this facility.
Are they being parked there now?
Not currently. The only improvements on site, or the only improvement on site is that warehouse that exists there. Currently, there's no access from Middle Road to that warehouse on parcel. The only method of access is across the Suffolk Cement parcel. I'm unaware of any potential easements that allow for that, so I think that's one of the main proponents of this, components of this proposal is to allow the access directly from the
Yes.
parcel.
So how many
That
trucks?
is-
How many trucks?
3 to 4 trucks.
4 propane trucks?
Yes, just 4, oversized trucks, yes. Propane or pickup trucks in their eyes.
So, but are they the propane delivery trucks that deliver propane, or repair type trucks?
They're gonna be both. It's gonna be both.
Both.
A mixture of both. Yeah, the main concern here is that the property was purchased and there's no access to their site. As Broad Edge has stated, the only way to access the site is through the Suffolk County precast parcel. The reason why they want to clear the parcel is to allow them access into their property.
It seems like a lot of clearing and a lot of work to be done just for 4 trucks. But
I mean, I think the location is good for what they're proposing. But should we have, if they're doing all that clearing, you said that we don't know if they're gonna need a export permit?
Yeah, that's one of the things that the town engineer had requested is an
Calculation?
analysis to determine whether or not it will be required.
Okay. And then zoning is the May 13th, right?
Correct. The zoning board of appeals is on
Correct.
May 13th.
I mean, I'd like to hear from the fire marshal on that propane storage, I really would, not that I'm opposed to this in any way, but, I mean, if you're storing propane trucks there, and we're recommending administrative approval, let's just get some feedback from the fire marshal on it.
Okay.
Yeah, the propane trucks will be empty when they're parked on site. They fill every morning. The original intent for this facility was to use it to distribute propane, and in speaking with the fire marshal, the biggest concern on this property was that there was no water
Right.
to the site to accommodate the propane and fire requirements. So the property has already been purchased by Great White Propane, so the intent right now is to use it for their truck storage. It could change in the future, but as of right now, the property has been purchased. They're looking to create some kind of access on site and to store their vehicles.
they go over to Cromer Avenue.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board, but I'd like to hear from the fire marshal. I mean, I hear what you're saying, that they're gonna be empty, but, I mean, a propane truck's a propane truck. I mean, you got a busy day tomorrow, let's fill it up tonight. I don't know, who's gonna police that?
Sounds good.
So,
I'll refer the application to the fire marshal. I'll
yeah,
seek their
if we could
comments.
do that and just kind of maybe, I hate to delay it, but we can't do anything until zoning anyway.
Correct, yeah, the resolution that I have scheduled for tonight is just in the event that the board desires a public hearing on the application.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know if I've made up my mind yet on that.
Isn't
I
necessary.
mean, I wouldn't have a problem with the new
Not
tanks that
necessary
are
to
empty
have a
are gonna be
public hearing on
installed.
it?
I mean,
It's
there's
not
no
necessary
danger
just due
there.
to the size
They're
of
not
the
installing
the
these
structure
things, they're
on site.
trucks,
It's
they said.
falls under the administrative site plan review guidelines.
Well, let's see what the fire marshal
Yeah,
says.
if he's okay with it. Okay?
Okay.
Are you gonna do that?
Sort of a wide open.
Sorry?
Are you gonna do that? Who's gonna reach out to the fire?
I'll reach out to the fire
You
marshal.
will, okay, thank you.
I'll
All right,
get his
thank you.
comments and,
All right, thank you.
We just table the resolution again?
Yes. Okay, Okay, next item is 244 Old Country Road, Diamond Builders, CM Incorporated.
All right, so this is really just a discussion. I've got a resolution on number 21-48, which would amend the conditions of approval resolution 21-13. Just to refresh the board a little bit, that was a site plan application. It was administrative approval that was granted for a change of use for 244 Old Country Road to change the use from a church to a medical office. It's on the north side of Old Country Road, just east of the Cablevision building. This was reviewed back by the planning board, I believe it was in February. There were conditions in that resolution. Up until that point, my correspondence with the Water District. The Water District had indicated that they had no records of any RPZ on file. So in Resolution 21-13, there was language in that resolution that specifically dealt with installations of RPZs, getting approvals from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services for the RPZs. Since the board adopted that resolution, I've received correspondence. The applicant has worked with the Water District. They have now installed a 1-inch, their domestic service is protected by a 1-inch Conbraco RPZ valve, and the irrigation system is protected by a 1-inch Conbraco double check valve. The Water District stated that the property is now in compliance with the Water District regulations. So I received a inquiry and a request from the applicant for that application. If we can amend the conditions of approval of Resolution 21-13 to basically remove the references to RPZ and Health Department. Reason being is that he's going to record these with the county clerk. He's going to record the conditions of approval, and rather than memorialize something that has already been addressed, he would just feel more comfortable if we remove that. So this resolution just amends the conditions of those approvals. They're still otherwise bound by all the conditions granted by those approvals. It's just going to remove those RPZ and Health Department, that language from that resolution.
Okay,
No problem.
no problem. Okay, that brings us up to the public hearings tonight. We have two of them. The first one on the agenda is Rock Camp Minor Subdivision. Greg, who do we have on for the applicant on this one?
I believe we have Mr. Pete Danowski.
I am here. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Danowski. How are you?
Very good. I've delivered the affidavits of posting and mailings today. Explain the public hearing facts. This is a two-lot proposed subdivision that would allow for, in the future, one of Mr. Rodkamp's sons to potentially build a house on what is a retained parcel already caused by a deed of development rights to Suffolk County on the large proposed lot. So we're parcelized already, two separate tax bills. Sale of development rights in place. They were careful enough to retain an area of 2 acres, which we propose now to split out as a formal subdivision lot. Go through the process, also obtaining from the Riverhead Water District a public water availability letter and agreement by a town board resolution. The agreement has been signed, which will allow a service line connection from the very, very close hydrant location, which is in front of the neighboring property to the north. Most recently, Tom Wolpert received the Health Department application, forwarded proof of that agreement by way of resolution to the Health Department, as well as forwarding to them no recent secret determination by resolution as you set this public hearing. Most of you folks are aware of the Rodkamp family. They own the neighboring parcel. They have the farm stand on Sound Avenue. Jeff and his boys, this is a really positive comment. The boys work with Dad on the farm, and so this would allow for the son that potentially wanted to build a home but he'd have to apply for his own mortgage on his own lot and not burden the farm. So, we're trying to be nice to kids, but teach them that, hey, if you're gonna build a house and you wanna go get a mortgage, that's on you. So I think it's a rather simple application in the sense that the demarcation lines for the lots are already created by the deed of development rights and the tax bills, and they mirror that line. So it's just, we're gonna say we've got an agricultural lot, and we've got a residential lot, and that's it.
Got a couple questions, Greg, for the record. Did the town receive a title search on this property?
Yes, they did.
They did, okay. And are there any easements over the property?
So as Mr. Danowski said, there is a conservation easement. The development rights were sold on the northern portion of the property. I believe that portion, well, let's see, it's 19.46 acres. So there is a agricultural easement on that northern portion, but on the 2-acre, the 80,000 square foot parcel on the south side, they have retained the development rights. As Mr. Danowski stated, the lot lines in effect were created when they did the development rights. The proposed subdivision mirrors those lot lines. So while the northern portion of the lot will be under that agricultural easement, the 80,000 square foot lot would be a residential building lot.
One lot
Correct.
building, okay. Thank you.
Lot one farm,
Excuse me?
is lot one farm?
I believe Lot 1 is being farmed right now, but this would allow them to
Yeah.
build a house. There's no agricultural commitment on that 80,000 square foot.
Yep.
So just one question from me also, Greg. So the development rights are retained on the remainder of this parcel, right?
Yes, on the 80,000 square foot, which is depicted as Lot 1 on the map, the southern portion of that property, the development rights are retained on that.
Okay, so we're doing a 2-lot minor on this, correct?
Correct.
What if they come back in 2 to 5, 10 years and want to put more houses on it? Would it be a major?
Well, they would be
Development rights
prohibited, so the development rights are sold on that northern portion.
No, I'm not talking about the northern.
On the 80,000 square feet?
Yeah.
I
Where they're
mean,
putting the house. They're subdividing that, and they're taking 1-point-something acres to put the house on it.
Correct.
It's 2-acre zoning there. they're
Yeah, it's
taking
2-acre
the
zone.
house.
I mean,
Well, how much is left?
Just 80,000?
it's just 80,000 square feet.
That's
They're
all that's
just-
left?
Yeah.
So there couldn't be any further?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, when they sold the development rights, it appears as though they kind of thought this out in advance and said, let's retain it, an 80,000 square foot zoning compliant lot, for future.
You know what I'm looking at? I'm looking at this earth driveway that's splitting the
Yeah.
northern portion, and it almost looks like it's separate lots.
Yep, nope, this is.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, we're all clear. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Nope.
All right, is there anyone from the public that may be on the call that has any questions or comments for this proposed minor subdivision? Anyone, feel free to unmute yourself and feel free to speak, just identify yourself.
Nobody, Chip?
Anyone on the Rot Camp public hearing?
I'm gonna make a motion that we close the public hearing of the Rot Camp minor subdivision. So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded to close the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a quick- well, I know it's brought up on, I want to be sure that when we get to the next step on this subdivision, that we require that a smart control be installed
All right.
for irrigation purposes.
Okay, so we have a motion and seconded to close the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Next public hearing is 48 Cromer Avenue LLC. Jefferson, this one is yours? And who do we have? We have Marty. Okay.
You've got a bunch of other experts that you are going to be also speaking tonight.
Marty, are you on? Did you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we hear you, and you have with you?
I have with me the owner as well as his project manager. I have with me also the people from Hiltz Propane. We have Chris Rempe here, and we also have Mr. Ted Lamoff.
Okay.
Or to
All
go
right.
ahead and present.
So if you want to just give an overview of this project, what you're looking to do, and then we could open it up for discussion.
Sure, thank you. Martin Sinlewski representing the applicant. Just a quick note, the affidavits all have been filed with the planning department. Following me, the representatives of Hiltz Propane will speak, as well as Ted Lamoff, and possibly the fire sprinkler contractor may also speak after I'm completed. Originally, this project was started back a number of years ago. We went through an extensive review with the town, and we also had an extensive review with the DEC that required us, we could have gotten a variance from the DEC. They told us we would have gotten it, but it would have taken time. So we had foregone that, and we now had to basically preserve 1/3 of the property, which we have done. We have received the DEC permit. That is in our possession. We have also received the initial approval from Suffolk County Health Department for the sanitary system. We just require the completion of the seeker process and this application in order to secure the final permit for the on-site sanitary system. During the course of the project, of course, with reducing the property by 1/3 with the open space, the overall scope of the project was reduced considerably. We have gone through an extensive site plan review with the planning staff, which has been very productive. And we've gone through all of their reviews and generally corrected any items that they had. And we have also reviewed this with the ARB, Architectural Review Board. They gave us a preliminary approval in a letter from Roy Sokolowski to the Planning Department, July 22nd of 2020. All the materials were approved, the elevations were acceptable. They just requested information on the front landscaping and fence area, which we're gonna go back to them with after we get preliminary site plan, because we wanna make sure that the layout is indeed finalized. Subsequent to that, during the course of the past approximately 6 months, we have gone through an extensive review with the fire marshal. Two of the people that will be speaking after this, which would include Hiltz Propane and Mr. Lamoff, I will defer any questions and any comments with regard to the propane tank installation and code compliance thereof to them. We complied with all of Craig's information in his initial November 20th letter. After we did that, they did an additional review, which included the fire chief. Both of the reviews included the fire chief. And Craig received the fire chief's info with regard to the fire safety analysis in December. After that, in January, we received additional comments from the fire marshal on January 6th. We complied with all of those, and we revised and mitigated any and all items that the fire marshal had concerns with in a return submission on February 11th. Subsequent to that, we received a final letter from the fire marshal on March 26th, saying he had no further comments to review, and that got us to the point where we are now with the public hearing. So just to highlight a couple of the last changes were specifically, we slightly rotated the tanks and we realigned the driveway so that both the southern driveway and the northern driveway along the back of the building allows firefighters to approach at a 90-degree angle to the tanks, so they are totally clear of the front of the tanks. That in addition to operation of the safety gates to open, being interlocked with the alarm system, fire suppression, et cetera, which the gentleman that followed me will elaborate on, as well as some other items that Craig had as housekeeping issues and egress requirements for the site for pedestrians have all been accommodated. With that, like I said, I would turn at this point, I would rather turn over to the representatives from Hiltz Propane, and then after that, he can pass it on to Mr. Lamoff at that point.
Marty, I just had one question before you hand it over. Is there a security plan, like cameras and whatever security measures involved with your plan?
Oh, yeah, there will be full security surveillance throughout the plant, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we got you. Just if you could, for the record, identify yourself, please.
My name is Gary Naus. I am the Director of Operations for Hiltz Propane Systems, and we're based out of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Our firm has been contracted to design and build this facility for the group and the owners. And a little bit of our background. I have 30-plus years in the industry. Our senior engineer, 30-plus years. The owner has an engineering background and has been pretty much in the propane build business all his life. We specifically do propane plants from the Canadian border to North Carolina. And we're kind of considered, not tooting my own horn, but it's considered one of the more premier builders on the East Coast. So once we're contracted, one of our first things we do in the design is we need to create an analysis. Is this facility where they want to put it, is it safe to put it there? If it's not safe, well, we might as well just stop the process right there. And that analysis is used in our industry, and we'll call it a fire safety analysis, and for short, I'm going to call it an FSA. It goes back as far as 1976, and it was introduced in the 76 edition of the pamphlet NFPA 58. And along with it were requirements for emergency shut-off valves at locations with hoses and piping and on and on and on. But this fire safety analysis was required for new propane storage plants with capacities of more than 4,000 gallons located in heavily populated or congested areas. This requirement kind of stayed unchanged until 2000 edition of 58, where the FSA was now required for all propane storage plants with capacities of greater than 4,000. So this analysis is quite extensive in determining what public entities are in the area, property lines, the way tanks are designed in between them, all the safety structures that are involved in the design of a propane plant. Now realize this all comes from this code book of ours called NFPA 58. And that so-called, unquote, is our Bible in the industry. We also incorporate the International Fire Code, and of course, in this case, it's applicable with the New York State Fire Code. So again, all this analysis, and it's been a long time of analysis and design leading up to this evening. And just to highlight a couple of other things, I think just for the good of the order here, I just want to get to those, so give me one moment. One of the greatest additions to this analysis and to the code book itself in the propane industry was there was a stigma that propane plants were very, very dangerous. And if you go back into probably the 50s and 60s and 70s, there was probably a very, very truthful statement. But because of this analysis and because of code changes over all the years, there has been so many design changes in the safety factors of a propane system. I don't want to bore you with all the little details, but I will tell you that even the distance between the containers, even based upon size, there is very special valves that are all through the facility, including every tank opening, certain parts of the piping, the hoses, all is incorporated into every safety factor that in a result, there would be, let's say, a pull away from a truck. There are safety factors involved that immediately mitigate any problem. And if all, a very small release, and I do mean small release of propane. So this analysis covers every inch of the design factors and the analysis with this. So one of the things that came out of this analysis was the distance in which if there would in the event be something that would happen with the piping at this facility. Every inch of piping goes into the analysis and is recorded in a data of distances. And I just want to make note of one distance for the record that I think would be good for the group. I'll get to it here on page 38. That the largest piping in this facility is 4-inch, which in the scope of what we do in Hiltz, that's not large piping. In fact, we did a 1 million gallon facility in Albany, New York, where you're talking 6 and 8-inch piping. But the same safety factors apply. If the worst case scenario of a cloud of propane that could happen, and it would have to empty this piping, that this dispersion cloud won't go any further in its flammability to 407 feet. So in the 407 feet, there's even been an analysis of what is the closest entities around this structure. I understand there's some stores in the area, but everything is greater than the 407 feet. And so again, in the analysis, it was determined early on that the placement of this facility, where it was in reference to the buildings and the stores in the area, it was found to be safe with this analysis. Understand that our company has countless hours in the design and the analysis of every safety factor for this facility. We follow every applicable code to the letter. No shortcuts are taken. Our reputation and our liability rests squarely on these codes that are meant to protect not only the public, but first responders and, of course, employees. We've spent countless hours, and I think it's probably most deserved to kind of introduce our next speaker. And it's this gentleman in our propane industry. We'll consider him to probably be the foremost authority in the safety design of propane plants. In fact, just to read you just a little bit of his bio. Just one moment.
Perhaps we could let him do that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Ted Lemoff, would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ted Lemoff. I'm a chemical engineer. I have a degree from the City College of New York. I'm a registered professional engineer in 3 states, not New York State. And I've been working with propane for 25 years. 35 years. The first 25, I was with the National Fire Protection Association, who publishes NFPA 58, and I was the staff person to the committee. In that position, I watched the committee process, made sure the committee followed all the rules, and there are extensive rules for committees that write these national consensus standards. NFPA 58, like all NFPA standards, is accredited by ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, as an American national standard. It's adopted and used in all 50 states and extensively around the world. So I've been working with this for a while. And I was brought in because there were concerns. I looked at the plans, and I must say that Gary mentioned the Fire Safety Analysis Manual. The Fire Safety Analysis, there is a manual, which is basically how these are done, and I'm the co-author of that, from what it's worth. So I am familiar with that. And the manual, you know, NFPA 58 is a code. The code is written for adoption as law, so it's not light reading by any means. The fire safety analysis manual is a procedure to follow through and cover every single requirement in the code. So when Gary says they've done this analysis, and I've spoken to his employee who did it, and they followed and they've covered every single requirement of the code. And I think this is a very reasonable plant, and I think it's safe. As safe as anything can be.
Okay.
Glad to answer any questions. I'd rather than just talk on, I'd rather see if there are any specifics that I can answer.
Stan, I had a couple questions.
Sure, there are a few questions, and whoever who wants to take the question can feel free from who spoke here.
I don't know if it's you or Gary who would be the, but thank you. Is there any recent history of tank ruptures or fires in those large capacity tanks?
Well, it depends what you mean by recent.
20 years?
10
years?
The last major failure via what we call a levee, a boiling, a way a tank can fail. We technical people get into various things. And the last one I'm aware of, and I'm talking now bulk storage plants, not tanks at homes or barbecue cylinders, occurred in 1998 at a farm in Iowa. It was a turkey farm, and they had an 18,000-gallon tank, which was keeping the turkeys warm and, you know, for what the farm did.
When there are multiple tanks, if one tank should go, is it a domino effect, or are they far enough apart where one won't affect the other?
Well, the tanks are not that far apart, but in the experience involving major incidents, for example, it was one in a pipeline terminal just outside of Mexico City. And there was pipe breakage, and it caused flame impingement on tanks, and tanks failed. There was no domino effect. They failed one at a time, irrespective of others.
And do either yourself or Gary have any idea how many of these bulk tanks are on Long Island or in this vicinity?
I'm not familiar with the exact number. No, I'm not. I believe. Go ahead.
I can tell you that there's an estimate out there that there are 100,000 of these plants in the United States.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. When you did your in-depth analysis, did you take into consideration your next door neighbor with his facility? With
Yes.
propane?
Yes.
And what were your findings?
That the distance requirements to the code book was met from property line distance. This facility and its distance to the property line, and including Perico's facility, met the distance required, which in turn met the code.
All right, do you intend to, you have a railroad siding that exists on your property. Do you intend to do as they do to bring in bulk via railroad cars?
I'll leave that answer to one of the owners.
I think,
Well, can you share the ownership with us?
Probably a question for Marty.
Marty?
I'm not sure if the owner's rep would like to, at this time, there is no intent on utilizing the rail spur. The rail spur that is there is actually particular to this site, and there is no intent to activate that rail spur at this time.
At this time?
Correct.
So how are you gonna fill those tanks?
At this point, they're trucked in.
And how many trips are gonna be required to fill those? And how often will it require trucks in and out to fill them?
That would basically depend on time of year and usage.
Okay, so you have 8 times 30,000 gallons. Do the math. I believe a tractor trailer is about a third of one of the storage tanks. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Okay, so you would need, think about how many trucks you would need. You would have a facility, to be building a facility that that great in size. You're telling me that you already have business that can support that kind of volume. I mean, why would you build something and then not have the volume to service it?
That is correct. The volume is there for bulk purchasing.
The volume is there. Paraco has, I must tell you, gentlemen, I was in the compressed gas business for 48 years. So I know just a little bit about it. Now, propane was not my forte, although I sold a lot of it over the years. I do know the Armentanos for many, many, many years. And they have, as you know, they've purchased every customer, or every company, I should say, pretty much on Long Island. There are very few independents left. Parago's bought them all. So I'm wondering where all your volume is going to come to overnight, unless you're going to buy Parago. It's a big facility for a little town. When you have a facility next door that's as large as it is, and they have 2 or 3 railroad cars there, and unfortunately, I do not know the cubic foot, I should say gallons, that a railroad car would hold.
30,000 gallons.
30,000 gallons. Okay, so you can have a railroad car to fill up one tank. So it seems to me that the only way, I mean, trucking is expensive, we all know that. Okay, so it tells me that the only way to fill that thing up continually, if you have the volume you say you have, is to bring a railroad car in. Because one railroad car equals one of those tanks. There's 8 of them. It's easy math.
So, we had started to answer the question. Marty said it depends on what season. Let's assume it's the peak season. How many trucks are going to be going in there and exchanging this propane, and how frequently is that going to be required? Because you're not going to be using a rail car, you're not going to be taking propane from Paraco, so it's going to be strictly on these trucks. You originally had the rail car on one of the site plans, but then it was removed because you said you didn't intend to use that, so now we're trucking it in. And what's the traffic and unloading at the peak season for that?
I don't have data on that specifically.
Okay. And there's no intentions to fill from the neighbor Paraco at all? There won't be a pipe going from one site to the other?
No, not at all.
So we're talking about trucks, propane trucks, keeping this place full on
That's
Cromer
correct.
Avenue, West Main Street, or wherever it may be?
That is correct.
Okay.
But there would be, I would say, you know, when you think about that, how many gas stations are there on Long Island? And they're all filled by trucks. So I don't really see the relevance.
Well, an automobile takes 16 to 20 gallons. Okay, a propane cylinder, a 100-pounder is how many gallons? 23 and a half. Okay? And you've already said that's going to be a portion of your business.
I'm not sure what those issues have to do with the site plan. Those sound more like policy issues to me.
Well, during the fire safety analysis, I mean, I didn't hear one mention of the propane facility next door until we asked the question, and it didn't come up, so I know we did receive a letter from the fire district too, and I think Marty mentioned that there was a meeting with the fire chief, but the letter that we got from the fire district did not say that, or it just said we didn't hear back at all. So I don't know if anybody else is on tonight, but maybe we can get some clarification on that. But we did receive an opposition letter from the fire district on this project also.
We got a letter from Craig Zatek, the chief fire marshal, on the record, which is quite extensive, and that's November 20th. That was early in the process. And it's got about 20 lines if you want me to read it. Another one from Jonathan Brown, the attorney for the fire district. We have received no response to the letter delivered to you. This is addressed to actually the supervisor, I guess. We see no response to the letter you delivered to you on October 16th, 20. Commissioners oppose the pending application for this propane tank facility. The tank should be turned away from the entry points where firefighters would approach. The proposed amount of propane is dangerous, especially so close to Tanger outlets, Riverhead Raceway, Glenwood Village, and apartments at 1750 West Main. Commissioners request to be heard at any meeting involving this application. Jonathan Brown again. Commissioners received information of pending propane storage facility on Chroma. Town's fire marshal should review the plans to ensure that they meet the requirements. Fire district and fire department serve as volunteers. They review plans and make comments and recommendations regarding the placement of fire apparatus and the safety of firefighters responding to an emergency at the location. Fire marshal should review the plans and make comments.
Yeah,
Town
all of
Riverhead.
those comments on all of those fire marshal memos have been addressed without exception, as required for the installation to be fully code compliant and safe without exception.
Okay, but
We've had probably another one here. I'll enter them for the record and you can go from there. We all have a planning from the Chief Fire Marshal Craig Zytek, dated November of 20 when this application first came in. And he goes over a lengthy,
yeah, I think, Dick, those are the ones that Marty's saying were addressed, because there was a later one from the fire marshal after the fire safety analysis was done. So I think those were all addressed. That's what you're saying, right, Marty?
Correct. Actually, every correspondence received to date from the fire marshal has been fully addressed, and any and all concerns have been either revised and or mitigated in accordance with NFPA 58 and code requirements. And if there are any questions in terms of safety, again, I would like to, if there are any specific things with regard to gas safety, Mr. Lemoff could answer that. Actually, when you read NFPA 58, if you look at the cover page of NFPA 58, Mr. Lemoff's name is right at the front top center of the code, because he is the foremost expert in the world on this and has actually written the code. So if there are any safety concerns with regard to this plan, he's more than qualified to answer them.
Well, I think the concern that I'm hearing is that, you know, we're proposing this facility right next to another gas facility, and then it could also be several tank cars. And just the close proximity of them all just raises a red flag for a lot of people, and that's why we're kind of asking these questions. But I think one of the bigger questions is you know, how many trucks are going to, and how frequently are they going to be going in and out of this location? And you don't have the answer tonight, that's fine, but perhaps, you know, after the public hearing, we'll come back and maybe you could elaborate on that question a little for us.
Stan, if I could ask one additional
Sure.
question. Marty, for the record, are you proposing to remove the rail spur physically from the property?
No, we're not removing the rail spur from the property. We are not activating the rail spur at this time.
I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I have some questions, not to do with the gas and the gas tank, but on the site plan itself. The building you've got here is 38,000 square feet. It's two-story with a full basement. What's going on? I see you had administration on the second floor. What's going on the first floor and the basement?
The first floor is industrial space rentals in accordance with permitted uses in this zoning district, as well as the basement, which is storage uses in accordance with the permitted uses in this district.
So in other words, you're going to have other people using this building, other than those in the gas business?
That is correct. The other building will have tenants in it.
Then is that the reason for you having 70 parking spaces?
That is correct. The parking is based on the overall combined uses of the entire property in accordance with zoning.
Okay, there's a storage area behind the propane tanks. And what's going on there?
That is for the storage of empty, smaller tanks that are sold. They're sold empty
Oh, you
and
mean
transported.
propane tanks?
Correct, and they're stored empty and transported to residential properties for sale. And it's a permitted storage area per zoning.
Okay, and one last question. You have a decorative wall. And what's the height of the wall?
I believe the wall itself is 4 feet with a wrought iron area on top of it. I believe a couple areas may be a little bit taller. I don't have it, actually, I have the drawing right here.
Marty, I believe it's 4 feet, and then I brought up the issue with the wrought iron being.
Right, that's correct.
And
Yeah,
then you
there's a-
remove the wrought iron part for right now, but then if you choose to bring it back, you need a variance for it. So I think right now you've removed it from the plan for right now until further consideration of it.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay.
Mr.
Jefferson,
Chairman,
question.
Uh,
So,
sorry.
question for you. So these other allowable uses in this zone, are they allowable to share a use with a propane facility on site?
Yes.
So you could have industrial uses with the propane that could be mixed?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
but you might look at it this way, if it was an associated business, they sell stoves, they sell outdoor fireplaces, you know, whatever, indoor fireplaces. Could be an associated, you know,
Okay.
they might own them.
I have two questions for Marty. Marty, can you tell us what will be stored in the basement of the building?
It would be the storage in there. Just see here.
I know the fire marshal had that same question of you, and I knew
Yeah,
that you had answered
I
it
have that
previously.
right here.
I'd just like to get on the record for tonight. I don't remember what the answer was.
I have it right here, let me just look it up. The occupancy of the lower level is S1, storage 1 per New York State Building Code. It is an S1 occupancy, which is storage.
So there's no propane tanks to be stored down there in any capacity? There
Oh,
might be.
no, there's no, it's not for flammables. If you look at the S1 code, which the fire marshal did look at, and that's why he asked us to clarify it on the plan, the S1 storage is a low hazard storage as opposed to higher hazard storages. And that has to do specifically with the building occupancy, fire separations, et cetera. It's a low hazard storage, all permitted in accordance with the New York State Building Code and permitted in accordance with the Town of Riverhead zoning code.
Okay. And then the follow-up question, Marty, will there be any propane sold here for homeowners with barbecue tanks?
No, there will not be.
Okay.
Do you have, Marty, one last question. Do you have access from outside to the basement?
Yes, we do.
So in other words, overhead garage door type thing?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in the
So-
southeast corner of the building.
So
They
it
have to
would
do-
it would be permissible, okay? I was the one with the objections, but it would be permissible for them to fill that up with empty, brand-new propane tanks. That would not be a violation.
I do not believe that would be.
They're vacuumed and they're sometimes filled with nitrogen, so they're fine.
Yeah, I don't believe they're not intending any flammable storage. No, they are not.
That's the
I
key,
know that,
there's no flammable.
Chief Fire
but-
Marshal asked that question. I believe his answer was answered satisfactory to the fire marshal.
I don't want to question the fire marshal, but I think we should get some feedback from him with regard to his analysis of both places together with a little more information than he may be able to ascertain now from this meeting.
I
don't
agree,
think
we
that's
should
too
get
much
the
to
fire
ask.
marshal's comments, I agree strongly, but we should also rely on the people that have the licenses and the skills to decide if these are safe or unsafe.
I
Mr.
think that it's
Denzisky, I'm not
important-
disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is that we are a planning board. We work for the people of this city, this town, okay? And it is our duty to do what we think is right.
I can get
A
that, I
very
can get that from
important-
the
a
fire,
very
Chief Fire
important
Marshal.
point- Right, a very important point to make here is that we have to obtain building permits and certificates of occupancy for each and every portion of this building and site. All of those things are required to be permitted by code. to be designed per code, reviewed per code by both the fire marshal and the building officials, reviewed after construction for compliance prior to a CO being issued. Every use we have and every design of the building will be in full compliance with the New York State Building Code, NFPA codes, and the Town of Riverhead zoning code without exception.
And I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that you have to go, well, I know that.
And I'd like to
Thank
know
you.
more about the truck traffic too, filling those tanks, because that's the only method that's gonna be potentially allowed to fill those tanks here. So with that, let's see if there's anyone from the public who wants to ask questions or clarification.
Excuse me? I'd like to add one thing.
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, Ray Deckhoff, Operations Manager for the company. Regarding that truck traffic, Gary, can you give them the answer? That is in the fire safety analysis.
Yes, and I was trying to fit it in there, but I wasn't sure where to pause everyone. But we did look at the analysis, and under a peak demand situation, it was estimated in our analysis that there could be as high as 15 transports and 45 bobtail delivery trucks a week. And that's a guesstimate, but that was part of the analysis.
Wow, okay. Okay.
How many tractor trailers? I missed that.
He said 45 a week.
I said 15 tractor trailers.
Tractor trailers.
Okay, so that's
45 bob trucks.
that's filling 3 of your vessels, correct?
Not emptying.
Yes, if there was completely empty.
Okay? And you're building a facility with 8 of them. I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Okay, anyone from the public have any comments or questions? Anyone, you can unmute yourself and just identify yourself, please.
Yes, Jonathan Brown appearing for the Riverhead Fire District at the direction of the commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I'm appearing at their direction, and I understand that this is site plan review, and many of the comments that I would have made have already been made by the board, and thank you for reading those into the record. Mr. Lamoth early on had said that there was one incident many years ago with regard to propane. I would remind the board that in 2011 in Shirley, New York, not 20 miles from where we sit, there was a gas leak that necessitated the evacuation of 1 square mile in the Shirley area and required firefighters be on scene for a period of about 24 hours. So this industrial facility is going to require a lot of activity. It is an industrial scale facility, and the concern that the commissioners have, among others, was the rotation of the tanks. If that has been remedied, then we will acknowledge that. There is some concern about the volume of product coming and going from this property. I would note that I received a copy of the fire safety analysis this afternoon. I did take a read through it best as I was able. It looks to me like it is something that was prepared by the applicant for the applicant and is not the independent review. These consultants, with all due respect, are hired and paid for by the applicant and not an independent review, which I believe that this site deserves. So all that being said, they did correctly identify earlier what a levy is. And while the firefighters are prepared to deal with propane incidents, a levy is a very difficult event which requires maximum distance and minimum manpower to address a fire on that kind of a scale. And the Riverhead Fire District is an all-volunteer service. You can imagine what the impact would be on this community in the event of a fire there that would require these volunteers to be on site for a period in excess of 24 hours, and what the result would be of an evacuation of a 1 square mile area.
John, excuse me, Ed Denseski here. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember that as being natural gas, not bottled gas. I think there's a little bit of a difference from storage tanks to
the pipeline. I understand what you're saying, though.
No, it was propane gas.
Propane.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah, the difference, and just, I know everybody here is an expert, but natural gas will vent up. Propane will seek the low point.
Down.
May I comment on that?
Well, let's let Mr. Brown finish his comments, and then
Thank you.
we'll bring you back, please.
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for the opportunity to be heard. The Riverhead Fire Commissioners oppose this site plan.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Any other comments? Okay, if you have a follow-up point, feel free.
Okay, Ted Lemoff, in regard to the differences between natural gas and propane, it's true that propane is heavier than air and natural gas is lighter than air. That's the way it is. We can't change it. When natural gas, as in a pipeline, is released from pressure, it does cool, and it cools to the point where it is heavier than air. And I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
I just one other point, I just want to be sure. Because of the size of the building and its use, you're going to be required to have Pine Barren credits, is that correct?
That is correct.
And how many, do you know?
1.5.
Have you been to the health department yet?
Yeah, we're completed with our review. We just got to submit that along with the secret determination, and they'll issue us our permit.
Okay.
They're getting, I believe, Marty, they're getting their credits from the Boy Scout property.
Oh, I'm sorry?
I believe that they're getting their credits from the Boy Scout property.
Yeah, I'm not sure where, but I know it has been secured.
Yeah, they reached out to me already.
And I would just like to add one last thing with regard to Mr. Brown's statements. I think one benefit that should be recognized by the fire district and the fire department is that Hiltz Propane, in conjunction with this application and subsequent to, provides training to the fire department members as well as the employees of the propane plant. So part of the service that they provide actually improves the fire protection within the town because they provide them with that specific training free of charge to the fire department, the chiefs, the district, et cetera, with regard to this installation. And Gary just may want to elaborate on that.
Well, that's exactly right. I'm a national instructor and an evaluator of the propane industry, and I definitely welcome Riverhead Fire Department, any other fire departments in the area. I think it would be good to do, if it, should this plan be, accepted and we move forward, that I think it would be a night for a training, question and answer, a walkthrough, inspection, and I think it would be good for everyone involved.
Okay, and just one last point. The rotation of the tanks, they weren't fully rotated away from the entrance point. I think Marty said they were slightly rotated.
That is correct. Basically, if you look at the site plan and you look at the row of tanks, is basically here. Here's the row of tanks. The front of the tanks is here, and then directly if I'm in front of the row of tanks, as I run my finger this way, I go out the exit. It is exactly 90 degrees to the front of the tanks where the entrance is. And from the opposite side of the tanks, you would enter from the northern driveway, access around the building, and you would have that same approach 90 degrees on the opposite side of the tanks for approach.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, do they require any variances?
No. They did it with their original plan, or their plan as revised last year, but they amended it so they don't need them.
Okay.
Did you get a special permit?
Sorry?
Did they need a special permit?
They got a special permit that was
Good.
approved by the town
Thought
board.
I saw something.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, Brown here again. The only other comment that I have is some question about whether or not they're going to use that rail spur. I'm wondering if that doesn't beg the question as to whether this is a segmented review where we don't have a fully developed site plan that may at some point in the future be amended. I think if they have the ability to come forward with a fully developed site plan, the board should be able to see it.
The site plan is considered fully developed at this time, is submitted for approval, is in full compliance with the New York State Building Code, NFPA, and all Town of Riverhead zoning requirements.
All right, well, we could put a condition about the rail spur anyway.
Well, you'd be opposed to rail spur?
No, but they'd have to come back to us.
Yeah, they'd have to come back, absolutely. But I mean, if we can get it in by rail, it makes more sense than trucks.
Okay, any other questions or points?
You understand that, Marty? If at some
Yes, I do.
point you change in the future, that would require you to come back to the planning board.
Same as with any other project I've ever worked on. If we come back for a revision, we come back to the planning board.
Okay. Got nothing else?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we have some other questions, but
Yeah.
they could be answered by, directed to fire marshal and at another session. So do we want to close the public hearing? There's no other comments.
Question for the board, would you like Craig Zidek to be at a future planning board meeting to address his comments and recommendations and concerns?
Yes.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 48 Cromer Avenue LLC. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and close the public hearing for Cromer Avenue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, so we have 4 to 1 abstention, so the public hearing is closed. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we are up to the resolutions. So we will go to any public comments on the resolutions before we take them up. Anyone from the public? Do we have many left?
Oh, God.
Okay, so we do have many people left for public comments on resolutions. If we could, just maybe one at a time, someone want to unmute, identify yourself, and feel free to speak or ask questions. Everyone's here just observing tonight? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes, hello. Is this the proper time to make a comment on the solar project?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Craig Dahlgren from Calverton. I have not been able to look at the revised site plan drawing that was submitted. I wasn't able to find that. But just based on the conversation that I'm hearing, it seems like, again, all of the effort was put in and focused on that substation along Edwards Avenue. 2 or 3 weeks ago at the last public hearing, I specifically mentioned at the end of it that I felt that there was an awful lot of focus on that portion of the project, but that we were kind of being ignored, so to speak, the people that wrote in and had concerns along River Road. Just to put it in perspective, the substation area, I don't believe has any residents in very close proximity to it that would be, that it would be part of their, included in their daily life, if you will, something that they have to look at all the time. Whereas the area along River Road, where you received, I believe, quite a few comments from residents and stuff there, this is kind of where this is going to be in our lives every day. This is something that we're going to look at. Despite the vegetative buffers and everything like that, this is still visible. Every one of these projects that you go to that's been done in town that has plantings around it are still visible. Even the one along Edwards Avenue, which is the most densely planted one, you could still see it. So this is, again, this is going to be right in our backyard. And I made comments on the last, at the end of the last one saying, we're reasonable, give us, work with us, maybe push it back a little bit from the road and the houses to help alleviate some of the concerns here. And that's my concern, is that it doesn't look like that was brought up to the applicant or any recommendations. And again, all the focus was on the substation, which really is just going to be passed by people doing 50 miles an hour in their cars. And, I feel that the other area here on River Road deserves a little bit of attention and consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank
I
you.
believe they did address that. I believe they did address that, Greg, did they not?
There is a condition in the resolution that they need to provide additional landscaping in the southwest corner, specifically to just provide some additional buffers. I would note that the location from the property line on River Road, or at that point it's called Railroad Avenue, it appears to be over from the, there's an existing dilapidated residence on that western parcel. It's probably close to 200 feet from the roadway. I don't have the specific distances to Mr. Dahlgren's property line, but I would have to guess that it's probably somewhere on the order of 120 to 150 feet, just based on the scale from the property line.
Didn't the applicants state that they were going to buffer that area?
Yes.
Well, yes, and that will be a requirement, to the satisfaction of the planning board. They need to provide additional landscaping. There's nothing in our town code that says that these facilities have to be completely invisible to the eye. They are providing visual screening. They are set back from roadways. But, it is an industrially zoned property. They are 8-foot tall panels. So, that's what they'd be looking at.
So that's the magic book you got there. We gotta go by that as they move along.
Okay, anyone else from the public?
Yeah.
Who? Ed Graham. Mr. Graham, are you on?
Yes, I am. I was just gonna wait for Barbara Blast to go first. If she's
Mr. Graham, you're on now. It's your turn, please.
I can wait till the next person.
You're on now. Please take advantage of the time we're giving you.
All right. I guess this whole process has been a little weird. I wanted to address a few concerns. There you go.
Mr. Graham, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Somebody's been
Okay. So I'm on, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anything. So I'm just I'm concerned about you here. Okay? I saw how you guys are really concerned about the propane tanks and household fires, explosions, stuff like that. I'm not sure that you guys realize that solar farms just when it comes to fires. And I'll read you something from. It says from the National Fire Data Center. It says it doesn't keep statistics on solar fires. That they're classified as other. So other countries now are starting to take count, and they're finding out there's a lot of fires caused by the discharging and charging of these batteries, because they're constantly being charged and discharged, just like your phone. And those exploding phones are the same kind of batteries, the lithium batteries that solar farms use. So, these are concerns because, one of your members said something about property owner rights, and he believes that a property owner should be able to do anything he wants with his property.
Within the zoning.
But what he doesn't understand is that the air above the property and the water below the property belong to the community. They don't belong to the property owner. So whatever happens on that property is a community problem if it goes into our water supply or if it goes airborne caused by a fire. So these are very concerning issues because they are happening across the country. And you may think that this is a Riverhead issue or a Calverton issue, but people all over the country right now are paying attention to what's going on here. There's lawsuits going on all over the country right now. And if you pay attention to it, you'll see that the same things are happening across every community across this country. And it's not right. they're doing the same playbook. It's a sales pitch. And whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, it's a sales pitch. And they're assuming the sale. The whole way, they've assumed the sale. And we're going to be the ones that are going to pay the price for this, because the taxpayers are going to pay for the increased taxes, they're going to pay for the heating costs, the fuel costs, all part of this Green New Deal that they're shoving down our throats out here. And the responsibility of a planning board is to protect the citizens of the community. And if one hazard, just one, in the next 50 years happens, these are irreversible damages that could be done to our water supply. Those chemicals are cancer-causing chemicals. No matter which ones they're using, they're all bad. And if they get into our water supply, we're never getting rid of it. There is no filter for it. If they go airborne due to a fire, which they're happening all over the country right now, and they're just not reporting it, but that smoke, that black smoke that happened above Walmarts and Tesla batteries, those black smokes carry major problems, respiratory cancers that are just eating people up. They're worse than like 9/11. So do you have an evacuation plan in case one of these solar farms does catch fire? There's no fire extinguisher on the side of the road or a hydrant is going to put these fires out, because they're electrical fires. They keep burning. And it's lithium, so the lithium floats, so you can't put that out. It causes major harm to firemen that try to put it out, and up to 10 miles in radius of a solar farm is potential hazard for the fallout. I don't think any of this stuff was addressed, because if you're still going forward with this site plan and you're worried about the trees and the plants, and you're going to put up a 45-foot tree in front of these masts so nobody can see it, I mean, that's so small. Whether people like the solar farm or not like the solar farm, this is a hazard to our community. Your job is to protect us from a potential hazard. And there's no guarantee. They cannot guarantee that there's not going to be a hazard over the next 50 years. Because those 30 years, that's going to extend, because there's no way of getting rid of those panels once they're installed. There's no place to take them. You can decommission them, but where are you going to take them? You're not going to put them in a landfill.
So, Mr.
They're
Graham?
going to be stockpiled,
Mr.
just
Graham?
like they're stockpiled in California right now.
Mr. Graham?
Yep.
So this is not a public hearing. We're commenting on resolutions. We did hear your very strong position and all of your good technical comments at 2 previous public hearings, which are part of the record. Your concerns were heard by the board. They are part of the record. But again, this is not a public hearing. We're only talking about the resolution. So if you're opposed to us approving this resolution, please just summarize and tell us that.
What I'm getting to, all right, what I'm getting to is the resolution, okay? It's come to my attention, that the public hearing tonight was somehow, I don't know, already a done deal. They said they already decided to accept their amended site plan without the community's consent.
No, we didn't vote on
The town is
anything.
to receive
That's not true.
$750,000 from the
It's not
solar
true.
company after tonight's resolution is passed. They're supposed to receive $750,000 as part of this agreement. It's become obvious that the money is more important than the health and safety of the community. And, when you took office, you swore an oath to protect, against these hazards and future risks. And you're required, to represent the will of the people who elected them, that elected you and paid your salaries. And you're required to show good faith when informing the public of all projects, large or small. Required to protect the community from inherent risk and potential dangers. Required to do the due diligence by allowing a vibrant debate on the issues of projects. Required to be accountable and culpable for any neglect or conflicts of interest. Also required to protect our water supply, wildlife habitat, and environmental ecosystems. they're comparing these secret reviews to a sod farm review. Have you been to the property? I invite you to go to the Long Island Sports Park, take a look at that property, come at dusk, come on a Saturday, and look at the vibrance, the wildlife that's there. It's not a sod farm. This is crazy that you would skip that part, which is the most important part. Someone going there and looking at this and seeing
Mr.
that
Graham,
there's a lot of wildlife that
I'd
is
like
going
to
to be
just point
destroyed.
out that that secret review.
And that's your job.
No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. The town board was the lead agency. They took the lead on the environmental review, not this
Right,
board.
so they passed a potato, it's like a hot potato. They passed it to one, and then
No.
they say, no, we did it, no.
The site plan is in front of this board.
You should have been the lead agency from the beginning, and
Well,
it's not
hold
your
on.
fault, I don't think.
I don't disagree with you,
you know,
but
it's-
we can't change that. So please, can you summarize
You
on the
can
resolution?
change that. All right, you can change that by not allowing this to go through.
Okay.
You know, the site plan to be approved, because then it would have to go back, and there would have to be an environmental study redone. So
We-
it can be done.
We
by
hear you
guys.
loud and clear.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, like, you know, what are we destroying? Like, what
All
is
right,
it
sir,
that we're
your time is
destroying
up.
there?
Mr. Graham, I'm sorry, your time is up, okay?
Yeah.
We clearly hear where you're coming from. You're opposed to this project. You're appealing to us not to approve it. Message delivered.
I'm
We've all
opposed-
heard it loud and clear. We're going to go on to
But
the
I am
next speaker.
for the
Thank you.
people's water supply.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Anyone else have any comments before we vote on the resolutions?
I would also just say that this, number one, is a preliminary approval, and it's got 8 pages of items that the applicant is going to have to resolve before he can go any further with this application.
Who do you have, Chip? Barbara Blass. Okay, Barbara Blass. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Blass, and I live in Jamesport. There have been errors and omissions of extraordinary degree and number on this project, starting with the very first step of the application process back in 2008 with the EAF. And the missteps have really compounded over time. Just for the board's information, the official sign posting the property for the public hearing on April 15th directed all the people to Riverhead Town Hall at 3 o'clock if they wanted to be heard. I think you should be aware of that. Today there's a new submission, and it still lacks the required elevations. This is not an overly burdensome requirement. Why and how is this board granting relief from this town code requirement? The site plans, last revised April 28th of 2021, still show a 25-foot landscape buffer in certain areas along Railroad Avenue and Edwards Avenue in violation of our code, which requires a 50-foot buffer along the roadways. Why and how are you granting relief from this town code requirement? The town board's negative declaration was undeniably on a different site plan. This new submission was never reviewed and evaluated as an alternative by any of the involved agencies. This is a new plan with a relocated substation, new interconnections running through the properties, and increased impervious surface, which could potentially impact the overflow drainage areas. How does that not violate the fundamentals of seeker? The DEC's wetland and WSRR permits were issued effective April 17th, 2020, and expire on April 17th of 2025. The permits were issued on plans submitted prior to April 17th, 2020. Clearly not the plans before you today. The permits actually contain language that says that all activity has to be in conformance with the plans which were approved by the DEC on April 17th of 2020. According to the permit, any modification requires the permittee to submit a separate written application to the department. My question is, why would you approve a plan today which is inconsistent with the DEC's permit and in violation of its conditions. If the applicant has not yet been granted a permit modification, you shouldn't be approving these plans. And still yet, these new plans must be reviewed by the Pine Barrens Review Commission and deemed to be in compliance with its comprehensive land use plan. Page 12 of your resolution says that the final site plan must comply with the commission's letter dated June 20th of 19. That really should be revised to specify that the applicant must get comments and a letter of compliance for the plans dated April 28th, 2021. Your resolution approves a collector substation plan consisting of 4 sheets prepared by ECI Engineering dated May 4th of 2021. That was 2 days ago. And somehow, some way, these plans were reviewed by the already overburdened staff, who were also reviewing the revisions from April 28th of 2021, just 8 days ago. That's extraordinary turnaround time. There's never been an explanation as to NextEra's commitment to cooperate with S-Power on any projects S-Power may have within a 10-mile radius of the site, which is the subject of a signed easement agreement. We still don't know what that might mean for Calverton community. And finally, you have the words of Mr. Dowling, the project manager from NextEra, who stated at the February 18th, 2021 Planning Board meeting, and you can check this on page 7 of your minutes from that meeting. He says, quote, "Moving the substation doesn't sound like much, but it cannot happen for us. We've provided our engineer." He sent a letter over that was sent to planning staff yesterday or the day before, quoting the reasons that it cannot happen. It's a 2-page document. There's multiple reasons. There's the takeaway, that it is not feasible, close quote. So you have the project manager and the engineers of record each saying that relocating the substation is not possible. So how did we get here? Forgive me, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to you and the members of this planning board, either they were disingenuous then or perhaps now. Which is it? Please do not allow this torturous process to continue by approving this preliminary site plan, as the record here, in my opinion, is not defensible. I thank you very much for your time and attention.
Okay, thank you. John McAuliffe? Mr. McAuliffe, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I had one, first of all, I'd like to reinforce what Ms. Blass said and reference an earlier comment about the actions or behavior of the town board. I think there's a very broad feeling that the town board was irresponsible in the way it handled this and irresponsible in its failure to address the changes that have now been made. I tried in written form and verbal form to get the 3 people who had signed the letter to you, which itself seems a bit irregular as a process, to explain why the change did not require reconsideration of the permit by the board, and they did not reply either verbally at 2 town board meetings or in writing. I think there's a little game I've seen in Riverhead of passing the responsibility out of one's hands and saying, oh, it's not ours, it's the board should have done it, but we can't do anything about it. I think each step in the process, you do have a responsibility. You should kick it back to the board and require that they address the change in the plan. So that's simply my opinion as a citizen. I have a specific question. In the Riverhead local story today, it said the resolution will make execution of the community benefit agreement the condition of a final approval. Planning Board Chairman Stanley Carey said yesterday. Now, is that
that there's obviously no reference to that in the summary of the resolution. Is there somewhere in the full text of the resolution this execution of the community benefit? So that's my question. The last paragraph of that story says that it's not clear what effect, if any, the reconfiguration of the site plan has on the project's prior environmental review determinations and approvals it has already received, including a wetlands permit and a Wild, Scenic, and Recreational Rivers Act permit approved by the State Department of Environmental Conservation in April 2020. So, and this is a little beyond my depth, but I'm wondering if it wouldn't be judicious to let your decision wait those actions, and also, to go back to my earlier point, insist that the board meet its responsibility and take votes on this so that the people in the town can know who is to blame for this industrial project, solar project that's going in. Thank you.
Greg, could you just clarify the one question, please?
With regard to the easement and the community, there was a couple of questions.
The fact that it is in as a condition of approval that they must execute the community benefit agreement.
Correct, so yes, so actually conditions number 3, 4, and 5, now these need to be satisfied prior to final approval. So just to clarify for the board, for the members of the public, this is not a final approval. There will be no building permits issued based off of a preliminary approval. There are still a number of conditions that the applicant must satisfy prior to this planning board granting any final approvals. Just for reference, condition number 1 on page 12 of the approval resolution that we have before us states, be it resolved that prior to final site plan approval, the following conditions shall be met. Number 1, the applicant shall demonstrate compliance with the requirements and standards of the Central Pine Barrens Commission Comprehensive Land Use Plan and obtain a letter of approval from that agency. We did not reference any date specifically. We're saying they need to obtain a letter or permit of approval from the Pine Barrens. That final approval will not take place unless that letter is received. Specifically regarding the New York State DEC Wild, Scenic, and Recreational Rivers permit, which was issued, condition number 8 states that prior to final approval, the applicant must receive amended New York State DEC approvals for both the WSRR and freshwater wetland permits for the revised plans dated April 28th, 2021. Again, no final approval will be granted unless that condition is satisfied. Conditions number 3, 4, and 5. Number 3 states that the town of Riverhead and the applicant, Nexterra, shall enter into a payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement to the satisfaction of the town of Riverhead, which pilot agreement shall contain a condition that pilot payments shall automatically increase proportionally in the event the improvements or any part thereof are altered, modified, replaced, and/or reconstructed such that the capacity to generate power is increased. Number 4, the applicant shall obtain and fully execute an easement from the town of Riverhead across Edwards Avenue for the purposes of installing an underground electrical connection to the LIPA power substation located on the east side of Edwards Avenue. Number 5, the town of Riverhead and the applicant shall agree upon and execute a community benefit agreement with the town of Riverhead in a form approved by resolution of the town board. So just those are conditions which are
contained. So it is in the full resolution.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes.
Nice, Greg.
Anything
That's
else, sir?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is Barbara Glass again. I'd like to make one clarification. I agree with Mr. Bergman that in that particular section of the resolution, that it does not specify a date, but if you go up on that same page, number 12, I think it's, let's see, a couple of lines up, it says it must comply with the planning board, the Pine Barrens letter dated June 20th, 2019. It is on that page. So that one should be deleted and perhaps the date added later on, but there is a reference in that resolution as I saw it today. And with respect to the DEC, absolutely. I recognize that you said that it's a condition of approval, but again, a WSRR permit, the permit is the plan and the plan is the permit. And you're approving a plan that is not consistent with the permit. And whether, you wouldn't be sending a plan or a permit request with a whole series of resolutions saying, I'm going to do this, then mark that plan complete. You should really wait and get their comments. There may be other comments and concerns as well. I believe by approving a preliminary plan that clearly is not the approved plan and does not have a WSSR permit at this time, or the freshwater wetlands permit that complies, that the plan does not comply with that, you should not be approving it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak before we take up the resolutions? Anyone else? That's it, Chip? That's it. Okay, we will go to the resolutions.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi, this is Takwi Turchin with Calverton Civic. Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Takwi Turchin with the Calverton Civic, and I'm very thankful for our 7 p.m. meeting tonight. Many folks, residents of Calverton, spoke out against this project with a flawed secret process and without covering ground that's already been made tonight very explicitly, very efficiently. I would like to state the following. Of the previous public hearings on Long Island Solar Generation, NextEra, points were made on the process that has happened on the letter that was that arrived in front of the planning board. I see a handful of the folks that have stood up before. They're here tonight. Many are not. There are 750 people, as a reminder, who have signed a petition who are not happy with this project. Let's see if I can organize this a little bit better for you. A coordinated review afforded by a type 1 action such that this project requires is justified, just as the similar ground solar installation across Edwards Avenue called Solar One, only that smaller megawatt project was positive declaration. NextEra's larger megawatt project is negative declaration. I know that's not in your court to make that decision. I do want to make it explicitly clear again. Now, to keep it fresh in people's minds, it's not in the planning board's arena. In effect, it's stifling your ability to allow proper vetting of this project. It is in your scope to see that the protection of the public's air above and water below, by allowing for the involved agencies to review this amended site plan and render their comfortability with the issuance of each one's permit. I note the Central Pine Barren Commission has yet to weigh in, and I know that any drafted letter from them will not go before their commission before the 26th of May. So granting an approval tonight with conditions met at final kicks the can down the road simply for whose sake? What requirements has the applicant met with this amended site plan? 8 to 14 pages of a resolution sounds like things are being stuffed in. It's in my opinion, and has been shared with me, that we would like to ask for an adjournment, a formal adjournment. Excuse me one second. To wait for these reviews of the issuing agency's permits. They haven't arrived, and so therefore we really cannot step forward safely. We respectfully request the proceedings to be adjourned for at least 30 days in order to complete the review of significant new issues. We also renew our objections to this proceedings based on the conflicts of interest of the Riverhead Town Board and appearance of impropriety as noted by Kathy McGraw in the prior proceedings. Moreover, it has come to our attention that the attorney for the applicant, Steve LaSquadro, served as parliamentarian for the Republican Party in connection with the selection of town board candidates. which in our opinion creates a conflict.
Mr. Chairman, this is inappropriate. I do not believe.
It violates multitudes of ethical and disciplinary rules. This potential conflict was not disclosed and mandates this tainted proceeding, and any determination by the
Ms.
town
Kirshen?
set aside.
Could you just please speak about the resolution? I think we know where you're coming from. We have, had several public hearings. We've heard comments over and over again. So if you could, again, this is not a public hearing, and to go down some of these roads you're going down, I'm not sure that it's appropriate to bring up at this point in time of this process. So if you could just summarize your position, again, it's not a public hearing, we're talking about the resolution.
Thank you very much. I believe I hit my points. I was making just repeated information that has been covered before. I'm asking for an adjournment, and I would ask that you ask yourselves, what requirements has the applicant met with this amended site plan? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Ron Hariri?
Ron Hariri. Paul, I think my,
Ron, you're breaking up. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you turn your camera off because we can't hear your voice at all? It's probably not, there we go, try that.
Try that. Okay, I think I'm off now. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yes.
Great. I was actually giving my old friend Ed Denizeski a compliment because sometimes from Ed's mouth there's the wisdom of a boy born and bred in Riverhead. And what he said earlier was that he has to at times defer to the experts. And I don't think there's any better expert than Barbara Blass, former council member, former member of the town's own planning board, who pointed out that this particular application is replete with multiple procedural and technical issues, which I think mandate that the proceeding is really a nullity at this point. I also would respectfully suggest that the issues regarding the town board's potential conflict of interest, as well as an appearance of impropriety, are also serious issues that this planning board really shouldn't simply disregard. And, the reason we have ethical prescriptions as to lawyers appearing before boards that they may have a political involvement with is so the people, the citizens who you represent, shouldn't really guess whether there was a quid pro quo in exchange for a board member voting a particular way to benefit his family, or whether another person voted away a particular way because she'd get the nomination. I think you can't ignore those very real concerns. So I'm not making any particular allegations, but I think you really need to get outside counsel to render an opinion as to whether the board that referred this matter to you for your expertise really was acting properly, or whether the entire process is tainted by an appearance of impropriety or potential conflict of interest. I have to say that in general, I've seen the chairman and the rest of the board act in a diligent, careful way to protect the interests of the citizens. And I just ask that with respect to the important substantive defects in this application, as well as the concerns about whether ethical rules have been really ignored by the town board, you get the opinion of outside counsel. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I just request that the other speakers keep to the resolution. The other issues they can talk at another time. This is about resolutions at this point in time.
I agree. Any other? Shannon Reitz? Ms. Reitz, are you there?
Good evening, how are you all?
Good. How are you?
I will make it short and sweet. I know it's getting late. I know I've spoken in the past in regards to the resolution. I just wanted it on record that, I do not support the passing of this resolution. And upon doing further research, I do have concerns that I think that the town needs to look more seriously at as to when they want to get involved with companies that have very long, strenuous lists of litigation and millions of dollars of fines, not abiding by environmental laws on other projects. That is the only thing I wanted to state this evening. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That's it, Chip? Not seeing anyone at the moment. Okay, so we're going to go on to resolutions at this point. I thank everyone for their comments.
I'll move resolution number 44, which schedules a public hearing for the site plan of Riverhead Townhouses.
Second.
Okay, motion made, seconded to schedule a public hearing for Riverhead Townhomes, Resolution 44. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I move resolution 45 for North Fork Developers LLC, granting a sketch plan approval for 10 lots, major subdivision. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 45 for North Fork Developers granting sketch plan approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll move Resolution 46 for the Calverton Solar Energy Nextera granting preliminary site plan approval. So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 46, granting preliminary site plan approval for Calverton Solar Energy Center, Nextera. I'll just like to say, this has been a very flawed process, right from the beginning. It's definitely by far the most questionable application that I've dealt with since being on this planning board. And I'm still not satisfied that all the concerns and outstanding issues have been adequately resolved. So for that reason, I vote no. George?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes 4-1.
I'll move resolution number 47, which seeks SEQA and grants administrative approval for the amended site plan of Jamesport Vineyards.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 47 for Jamesport Vineyards for administrative approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution is
No,
approved.
Stan.
I'm sorry.
I haven't voted yet.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to abstain. I do not have a conflict of interest, but I may have the appearance of a conflict of interest because my daughter works there part-time. But I do want to say this is a very fine business, and I wish them good luck. But because of that possible conflict, I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so the resolution passes 4-1 abstention.
I'll move resolution 48, 244 Old Country Road, Diamond Builders, to amend the conditions of the site plan we approved. So moved.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 48, 244 Old Country Road, resolution to amend the conditions of a site plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. This 49, I believe we're going to table. We're going to wait for zoning and fire marshal comments.
I'll move to table this motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to table 49. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
I'll move resolution 50, Holly Estates, resolution granting extension of time for the chairman to sign and approve subdivision map. So moved.
Is that a second, Dick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 50 for Holly Estates for an extension of time. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I'll move resolution number 50, which authorizes the clerk to publish a notice of public hearing for Crown Castle at Fresh Pond Avenue. It's a tower consolidation project.
It's 51, just a quick one, it's
Second.
51.
No, this is 50.
I just did 50.
51.
You made it 51? Oh, okay, sorry. I have it here as 50.
We got the old agenda.
Do we have a second?
Must be an old agenda. yeah.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 51, to schedule a public hearing for Crown Castle at Fresh Pond. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Move resolution number 52 for Calverton Tree Farm, hiring Jeff Seaman as a certified environmental professional. So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 52, for Calverton Tree Farm to hire Jeffrey Seaman as a certified environmental professional. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Any public comment on any matter in front of the planning board? Any general public comments?
I'll move the minutes of the board from April 15th, 2021. So moved.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of April 15th, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any other business? Okay, next meeting date is Thursday, May 20th, 2021 at 3 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and have a good night.
You too.